A very, very good morning to all of you and welcome to the live coaching class conducted by Board of Studies. I am CA Ritima Bhatia and we are doing heads of income, which is a topic for your paper 4 taxation. So by this time now, we have covered salaries and we have covered house property. Yes, I know there is one or two parts of the house property which are still left to be covered. So before we begin our today's topic, which is the third head of income, profits and gains of business or profession, I would request again some part like half an hour of your class to cover the remaining topics of your house property, and then we proceed with the next head of income, which is PGBP. So welcome back everyone. We'll do as promised one question on the deemed let-out property and two topics which are section 27 and co-ownership are left. So I hope everyone have done their share of homework. They have practiced the question which we did in the previous class, because this topic is one of the most scoring one. Okay, so first I'll pick up with your question on deemed let-out house property, and then I'll take up simultaneously your questions which you have faced in your practice at home. So hope my screen is visible to all. We'll start with our first question on deemed let-out house property. Everyone on the screen, please, how to solve this question is very simple. If by now you have understood the concept of let-out property and self-occupied property, then doing such questions of deemed let-out property is very, very, very simple. So first we'll begin with the question. Ganesh has 3 houses, all of which are self-occupied. The particulars of these for the previous year 21-22 are as under. We have municipal value, we have fair rent, we have standard rent, date of completion, purchase, municipal taxes paid during the year, interest money borrowed for repair of property during the current year, interest money for the current year on money borrowed in April 2015 for purchase of property. Compute Ganesh income from house property for assessment year 22-23 and suggest which house should be opted by Ganesh to be assessed as self-occupied, so that his tax liabilities minimum. I told you, whenever you're doing a particular question, when you're doing salary, consider yourself as employee. When you're doing PGBP, consider yourself as conducting business, and when you're doing house property, consider yourself as the owner. So as an owner, and as a necessity, what could be the most beneficial situation for you is when your income is taxed at is taxed minimum. Basically, when your income is minimum, that is a beneficial situation for you. Correct? Yes or no? So begin with just to refresh your concept. Any person or any assessee, specifically individuals and HUF, can only claim 2 houses as self-occupied. If they have more than 2 houses as self-occupied, then those would be deemed let-out property. So I cannot say eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and let's take house number 3 as a deemed let-out property. No. A proper calculation and permutations and combinations would be applied to do this question. So first thing which I'll do is I'll calculate the gross annual value and the net annual value, and obviously the income from that house property for each, considering them as let-out. Matlab, let's calculate the value for house number 1. House number 1 का municipal valuation fair rent में, obviously fair rent is higher, fair rent में standard में standard is higher. We do not have any actual rent to compare it, so in all these situations our expected rent would be a gross annual value. So expected rent is 3,50,000. In second case, expected rent would be your 360, and in third case expected rent would be your 375. Okay. Now, ऐसे quickly with this, tell me what is the income from house property for all 3 of them, considering them as a let-out property. 30% NAV minus करो, interest on borrowed capital minus करो. Question में construction. This question is not about construction loan. This is about a purchase loan. So 5 years period is not relevant. What is relevant is the loan is taken after 1st April 1998. So that is also here. No. Something got failed. Yeah. So 1st April 1999. Sorry. Quickly. So I hope by now everyone would have got income from house property 1 as 2,19,800, income from house property 2, 176,840, and income from house property 3, 73,640. I did not purposely solve it because I hope by this time people know how to calculate this. Okay, now coming to the next part of the question. Now we'll pick up permutation and combinations. We'll make our best case scenarios and we'll see which one suits best. First scenario mein we'll consider house property 1 and house property 2 as self-occupied. Second scenario we'll consider house property 2 and house property 3 as self-occupied. And third scenario mein we'll consider house property 3 and house property 1 as self-occupied. Are there any permutation combinations? No. So if I consider house property 1 as self-occupied and house property 2 as self-occupied, that means house property 3 ka to this income would be taxable. Correct? Because this we have calculated as assuming they are let out. So house property 3 would be pura taxable. Which is 73,640. Now for 1 and 2, what would be our value to be taken? Whenever a property is self-occupied, gross annual value is nil, hence your net annual value is nil. Only impact comes on the interest part. Here there is no loan going on, right? The house property 1 ka value is nil. Here house property 2 may what loan is going on? Repair loan. Repair loan is going on, interest is 55,000. But self-occupied case mein the ceiling limit on repair loan is 30,000, right? Correct? Remember? Yes. So that we did. So here my net income from all three house property, assuming house property 1 and house property 2 as self-occupied and house property 3 as deemed let out property. Deemed let out means it is not let out but it is equivalent to a let out property, and hence when we say a house property is deemed let out, you calculate the valuation totally as per the let out value and you take it as your income. Just the difference between a let out property and a deemed let out property is that when you're talking about deemed let out property, we do not have actual rent to calculate gross annual value. Our expected rent is our gross annual value. But when we talk about actual let out property, we have the comparison to make. That's it. There is no other difference. So in the first case scenario, my net income is coming as 43,640. In the second scenario, house property 2 and house property 3 are my self-occupied property. So my house property 1 is my deemed letter property. So uska to income is pura ka pura here 2,19,800. Correct? Now we have to take house property 2 and house property 3 as self-occupied. House property 2 ka again, what would be the maximum deduction? 30,000. And iske case mein what would be the maximum deduction? 1,75,000 because it's a purchase loan. So 30,000 and 175,000. Is this correct? No, because remember the total deduction for 2 self-occupied property cannot be more than 2 lakhs. So this is correct. This is coming to your 2,05,000, which is not correct. So total 2 lakh, hence my net income from house property in this scenario is 19,800. Now we cover a case where house property 2 is let out. So house property 2 is let out 176,840 minus house property 1 ka value, add house property 1 ka value, nothing because there is no loan. House property 3 ka value is 175. Now here full 175 would be allowed because 2 self-occupied property ka deduction is not crossing 2 lakh. And here my taxable income from house property comes to 1,840 only. Now, as a taxpayer, which is the best case scenario for you, where you have minimum income to offer to the government, right? That is your best case scenario. So, which case scenario you will pick? Obviously, this one where you are considering house property 2 as a let-out property and house property, deemed let-out property in 1 and 3 as occupied. Your question never, deemed let-out property mein your question never ends taking here ki okay, let's consider this as deemed let-out because isme sabse kam income hai. No. All of this depends on various factors. One is obviously these values. Second is obviously the deductions which you are getting as a self-occupied property. All of them in combined tell you which is the best case scenario to take which property as a deemed let-out property. Clear? Lokesh, I just told that we'll do that. But this question was as promised to be done. That's why we are covering it. I hope everyone has an understanding, and I think deemed let-out property is a very simple question because इसमें complexity does not come to that extent जहाँ पे where we saw partly, not partly, and all those stuff. Okay, what else we have? We have illustration 3. Brinda says illustration 3 mein what the problem is. 1 second. Let me go to illustration 3. Illustration 3 mein what is the doubt, Brinda? 1 second. Here loan is taken on 1st October for repairs and interest will be for 6 months and interest on first loan will be for 1 year or 2 years. Okay, let's read your question. Mr. Manas owns 2 house properties, one at Bombay, wherein his family resides, and other at Delhi, which is unoccupied. He lives in Chandigarh for his employment purpose. For employment purposes in a rented house. For acquisition of a house property at Bombay, he has taken a loan on 30 lakhs for 1st April 2020. He has not repaid any amount so far in respect of the house property at Delhi. He has taken a loan of 5 lakhs at 11% on 1st October towards repairs. Compute the deduction which would be available under section 24B. Here itself, I think, Vrinda, by reading the question, I understood your problem. The loan is taken on 1st April 2020, not 1st April 2021. The year which we are talking about is previous year 21-22. So for 21 and 22, accrued loan, accrued interest would be full 30 lakhs pay 10% and 5 lakhs pay 11%. subject to the limits. Module along with your RTPs, your previous exam papers, your mock papers. If you do questions from past 3 or 4 previous exam papers, but one thing, be careful when we come to tax, things change. So you have to be very careful on solving those questions. RTP, module, and your mock test papers. If you do them thoroughly inside out, good to go. Pooja, let me know that at the end of the class today. Okay? We'll do it. Brinda, I hope your question is clear. Rajeshwari, please tell which question you're talking about. Is it question 5 or illustration 5? And what is the query? Baba, loan is taken on 1st October 2020. We are in the year 21-22. Unrealized rent, there are 2 treatments. One is either you reduce it from the actual rent before comparing it with your expected rent. Another treatment is to reduce it from your gross annual value. The income tax department reduces it from the gross annual value, but the questions primarily in your module are solved by reducing it from the actual rent. So whichever is preferred by you would be taken up. Both the approaches are right. Year loan के interest calculation में is everything. If you mistake or mistook the year which is given in the question, every calculation would change. Illustration 6. One second. What does illustration 6 say? Sonal, I'll take your question also. Just first we'll take illustration 6. Poorna has one house property at Indira Nagar in Bangalore. She stays with her family in the house. The rent of the similar property in the neighborhood is 25,000 per month. Rent of similar property is fair rental value. Municipal valuation is 2,80,000 per month. Municipal taxes paid is 8,000. House construction began in April 15 with a loan of 20 lakh taken from SBI Housing Finance Limited at 9% per annum on 1st April 2015. The construction was completed on 30th November 2017. The cumulated interest up to 31st March 2017 is 3,60,000. On 31st March 2022, Poorna paid 2,40,000, which included 1,80,000 as interest. There was no principal payment prior to this case. Compute Poorna's income from house property. So I believe there is the problem only in the interest part. So I'm not going into the whole detailing of what is your fair value and all those things, because here in this case, the annual value would be nil because it's a self-occupied property. So I am not disturbing my mind on that. But what I have to understand is how to calculate the interest, right? Now, before calculating the interest, first thing you have to find out when the property was completed. The property got completed on, Rekha, please, this is for you, 30th November 2017. immediate, now pre-construction period would be from the loan taken to the immediate 31st March, which is coming, immediate preceding 31st March, which is coming on completion. So 30th November 2017 would work completed. So my pre-construction period would be 31st March 2017, because in this year, which is my previous year, 17-18, the construction is completed. Hence, I can take the interest here in Pura. So my pre-construction period is this. The March, which comes just prior to the date of completion, is your pre-construction period ka last date. Okay. Even if this is 30th November, 30th March 2018, then also it would be 31st March 2017 for the pre-construction period. Now, यहाँ पे simple one thing simply is given, इस period का interest from the loan taken till accumulated 31st March 2017 is 3,60,000. So we do not have to scratch our head on the pre-construction period ka interest. 17-18 ka interest is how much? So they have told okay, on 31st March 2022, Pune paid 240, out of which 180 included for the interest. So 180 is my 17-18 का interest part. उससे पहले कोई repayment नहीं करी. We do not calculate the interest based on the EMI amount. We have from the EMI amount, we have to separate our principal and we have to separate the interest. Interest is what it is important for claiming the deduction under section 24 clause B. So 180 this. Now we have to see what is the period of claiming the pre-construction period ka installment. The period will begin from 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21 and 21-22. All of these are the previous year. Okay? So, iska 1/5 installment can be claimed every year, right? Correct? So, 72,000 would be claimed every year. This year I claim, this year I claim, this year I claim, this year I claim. I am in previous year 21-22, which is being the last year of claiming the pre-construction period installment. So hence 21-22. So my total installment of total interest eligible for deduction for previous year 21-22 is one current period 1,80,000, another 72,000, which is 1/5 of your pre-construction period. Total comes to obviously more than 252,000, which is obviously more than our ceiling limit. So hence deduction would only be allowed for 2 lakh. So hence my property value would be negative 2 lakh. Loss from house property. Clear? Illustration 5. Ganesh, what is the question? Ma'am, for loan for construction, so cannot claim deduction more than 30,000 if not completed in 5 years. Yeah, purchase of property ka to student think logically. Purchase property means you have purchased the property. It is not for construction period. The loan is taken for purchase of property. So in that case, 5-year limit is not there. Construction ke case mein 5 years limit is there. Purchase generally happen when you acquire that property, right? Question 5. 1 second. What is question 5? What is the problem? Interest part. 1 second. Arun and Vimala, co-owners. अच्छा, co-owners के question का आने से पहले I'll take co-owners का concept and then we take that. और कोई question? Yes, Shradube, it is because your two house properties are exempt. That's why. Which is two house properties are considered as self-occupied. Ma'am, if Namrata is asked if one self-occupied is there and interest on repair is 30,000 and interest on loan for construction is 2,50,000, then what will be the deduction? One self-occupied pay, you have taken two loans, which you are saying. Now the construction logic. Students, imagine the questions on the logic concept. ज़्यादा confused हो जाओगे अगर ज़्यादा extra imagination लगाओगे. Construction and repairs एक साथ नहीं चलेंगे. Number one. Construction का loan चल रहा होगा if you're saying पुराना, and then repairs का loan which you have took now. If that is the scenario, then also maximum 2 lakh का deduction would be allowed. In any situation, 2 lakh से ज़्यादा deduction would not be allowed. Keeping in mind the limit of 30,000 and 2 lakh respectively for repairs and construction loan for less than 5 years. Construction loan for a construction completed in 5 years. Interest for repair is included in the 2 lakh का cumulative limit. See, अभी we did ना, इसमें भी also we did when we were doing deemed let out property का question. Here, this was repair का loan, this was construction का loan. दोनों का deduction we took as per the ceiling limit सबसे पहले, and then in total it cannot exceed 2 lakh. This which we have done in detail in the previous class. Do not get confused. पहले repair का loan का ceiling, then general construction or acquisition loan का ceiling. Both of them in total, if you have two self-occupied property, cannot exceed in 2 lakhs. I told you whenever the property is vacant, whenever actual rent plus vacant period ka rent is more than my expected rent, then in that case we can take actual rent as my gross annual value. Why? Because even if it is actually less, because the actual rent is lower to the expected rent just because for the period of vacancy. Had it been let out for the whole year, it would have been higher. So this is a genuine case. Hence, we'll take actual rent as my gross annual value. So which would be 20,000 into 10, 2 lakhs. Okay. So 2 lakh would be my gross annual value. Now this is a case of unrealized rent. So 2 lakh means 20,000 you can reduce from your gross annual value. Which in that case where your gross annual value would be coming to 180, okay? Or either way, you can compare it. Actual rent, may say you can reduce first 20,000 and then compare it with the expected rent. So that is not an issue at all. Okay? Is it clear now? Number the 6,000 full. Now can we just move ahead to one concept which is left here, which is again a very, very, very important concept. Students, please, again, everyone very on the screen. Now, this is a concept which is important from the point of view of final also. Here we'll try understanding it. House property held as stock in trade. I told you, house property, if it is my stock in trade, when it would be my stock in trade? When I'm into the business of selling and purchasing house property, then my house property would be stock in trade, correct? Yes. So any business, any income from the sale of such property would be my business income, because that is my business. But any income which is from the let out of property, let out of house property, which is held as stock in trade, would be considered in the head of house property only. What did I say? Any income from the let out of house property, which is considered as stock in trade, would be taxable in the head of house property only. But here the catch is, the house property which is considered as stock in trade, please listen carefully, the house property which is considered as stock in trade, the annual value of the house property which is considered as stock in trade and not let out, uska annual value would be taken as nil. I'm nahi samajh aaya? I'll tell you. You are a builder, you have these many values as your property. Okay, you are into the business of selling and purchase. So I told you the sale and purchase would go to business income. But if there is no sale and purchase, then there would be the concept of annual value. Because if there's no sale and purchase, then you have to consider income from house property. The income from house property here in this situation would be divided into two parts. First would be the years, which comes 2 years after the completion. उस केस में the gross annual value of such properties would be considered as nil. Ma'am did not understand. I'll tell you first the logic. I am a builder, okay, and why this concept came. I am a builder. I am building flats, okay. So the government knows I'm a builder. I'm into sale and purchase. Now what do I very smartly do is, I do not sell those flats. मैं इनको rent पे दे देता हूँ. I give them on rent in, because obviously if you have flats empty, no one will sit idle for 2 years, right? So I give them on rent. I give them on rent on completion, and I took all the money in black. कि किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा that I have given the house properties on rent, because I am a builder. No one will ask them. If someone says, I'll say, okay, this is the flat which is ready to be sold, correct? So what happened? Gradually, many builders went into black practice of renting the house without declaring the income, because they were not selling those houses, they were renting those houses, and they were simply taking the income into the pocket. Now, government says that if you have houses available to be sold, think logically. You are the builder, you have houses available to be sold, and your house is not getting sold. Generally, what you will do, okay, till the time the sale is not happening, let me give it on rent. This is what you will do. So the government says this is generally what a common person will do. But if you're not showing it, that means you're doing it but not telling us, correct? So they say, we know that you have not sold your flats, but you have actually let it out them. You have actually let it out them. So hence, we understand that you are letting it out there, so we want income on it. We want income on it. Now what will happen? You have to give the income on it. Now you will not say that all of these are self-occupied. I'll take two as self-occupied and others are deemed let out property. The government says, okay, we understand that immediately on construction, the house is never sold. Sometimes it takes a period or so to sell the house. So what we'll do is, we'll give you 2 years for cooling period, that we assume that these flats which you have built are not sold immediately. So hence, for 2 years from the year of completion, 2 years from the end of the year of the completion, will not tax any of such house in the income from house property. But from that 2 years afterwards, we consider them all as deemed let out and we'll take tax from you. We'll consider them as deemed let out and we'll take tax from you. So the concept is clear. Why these things came into picture? Because builders were into such practices of letting out the houses without selling them. Kisi ko kya pata chalega from the concept? Now, if they're letting it out, the house property, the government want to take the tax on it, but they understand that, okay, immediately on construction, the houses are not sold. So we understand it will take an year or so. So once the house is completed, from the end of that year, for the next 2 years period, the gross annual value would be nil. Hence, they would not be taxed. The gross annual value would be nil. But after 2 years, we'll take them as deemed let out property, and this is the concept. The annual value of the property or part of the property, which is held as stock in trade by the owner of the property and not let out during the whole or any part of the year, shall be taken as nil. However, this concession will be available for a period of 2 years from the end of the financial year, in which the certificate of completion of construction of the property is obtained from the competent authority. One more thing, now since you're income tax students, so understand income tax better. Be very careful about the language of the act. If the language says 2 years from the construction date, then it would be construction date say 2 years. If the language says 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the construction was completed, that means when the construction was completed, us year ka 31st March say 2 years. So if the construction got completed on 17th March 2022. 31st March 2022 is the end of the financial year. So 2 years from here. March 23 and March 24. So in 2 years, the gross annual value of the property held as stock in trade would be nil. Going forward, it would be considered on deemed let out basis. Next concept, which was not taken in the last class, is property owned by co-owners. Co-owners क्या होते हैं? You and me both own the property, so we are the co-owners. So co-owners, everything is very simple. What you have to do here is the value you calculated, the net annual value you calculated, property tax which you calculated, all of them would be calculated, divided into shares. So if you have 70, I have 30, the net annual value would be 70% for you, 30% for me. Clear? But here one benefit which we get as co-owners is both will get our own separate deductions. That means on 70% we will claim 30% as standard deduction. On the 30%, I'll be claiming 30% as standard deduction. And 2 lakh the limit which is there, if it's a self-occupied property, then 2 lakhs is separate for you as deductible and 2 lakhs is separate for me. Ma'am, what do you mean? Just give me a moment. Where house property is owned by 2 or more persons and their respective shares are definite and ascertainable, such person shall not in respect of such property be assessed as AOP. This line means that whenever two person own anything together, तो वो AOP बन जाते हैं. AOP is what? When two persons own anything together, generally they become AOP. But in case of house property concept, we are considered as co-owners. We are not AOP. Co-owners means separate, different co-owners with separate, different identity. Such person shall not, in respect of such property, be assessed. One second. Be assessed as AOP, but the share of each such person in the income from house property would be computed as per 2225 and shall be included in the total income. For computing the share of each person as is referred to in section, such share shall be computed as if such person is individually entitled for the relief provided. Simple. You are the 70% owner, I am the 30% owner. Net annual value is, suppose, 5 lakhs. So 5 lakh plus 30%, 70%, 3 lakh 50 would be taxed here. 1 lakh 50 would be taxed here. Okay. Without, then iska net annual value में से 30%. He will get 30%. 30% you will get, 30% I will get. Now, suppose the loan is going, this way the property is let out. The loan is going, this way the interest was 4 lakhs. So now interest was 4 lakh, 70% would be allowed to him, which would be 280, and 30% would be allowed to me, which would be your 120. Okay? And both will calculate the reduction. But here the benefit comes when we are talking about a self-occupied property. Now we are talking about, suppose, a self-occupied property. Usme what happens? The annual value is nil. The annual value is nil. So no deduction for 24A. But 24B में आप कहोगे 4 लाख का लोन है, ठीक है? Here 280 and 120 would go, but when we talk about self-occupied loan, this is for construction. What happens? This 280 gets restricted to 2 lakhs, right? And my annual value of house property comes to 2 lakhs. And here 120 would not be restricted to any limit, would be restricted to 2 lakhs, but it is less than 2 lakhs. So pura ka pura 120 is getting taxed in the hands of you, in the hands of me. So 1,20,000 is getting as a loss, which is ultimately would be my benefit. So hence, what happens is that when there is co-owner, if this property would have been solely owned by you, what would have happened? Nil annual value and maximum interest ka deduction would be 2 lakhs, right? So the loss from house property would be 2 lakhs. But since now there is a concept of co-owner, each co-owner gets his own set of relief. So this 2 lakhs ka limit is for each co-owner. That's why 2 lakh plus 120, at least 320 ka you are getting the interest ka deduction in separate tax holder. So ma'am, you will say ki, didn't you tell that two self-occupied property ka loan cannot be, interest cannot be more than 2 lakhs? Yes, I tell that, but the problem is that thing was for one taxpayer. One taxpayer pay two self-occupied property ka interest maximum allowed is up to 2 lakhs. But here, the thing is ki there are two different taxpayers and each taxpayer is having his own limit of 2 lakhs and the interest would be divided. This is the co-ownership, but both will get their own limit to satisfy the interest deduction, and hence co-ownership becomes beneficial when we are talking about a self-occupied property, because each will get maximum 2 lakhs ka deduction. But yes, it would be divided based on their ownership. The share of co-owner would be given in the question. Either it would be written that they are equal owners. Equal owners means 50-50%. Yes, Rekha. Yes, if the house property is actually let out, then it would be taxable. Ashish said if the construction is completed on 2nd April 2021, then the end of the financial year would be 31st March 2022. Correct. Two lakh limit is per SSC for maximum 2 self-occupied houses. Now we move to the last part of the house property. I think we devoted a lot of time today, but not a problem. Deemed ownership, section 27. This concept is very important. Why? Because abhi to you'll see कि ma'am, this is all theoretical. Why it is important? When you will be doing clubbing of income, now you will understand the relevance of this concept. Deemed ownership का क्या मतलब है? What is deemed? Deemed is when it is actually not, but it is actually now. So if you are not the owner, but now you are deemed to be the owner. Deemed to be the owner. So once you are deemed to be the owner, the income from house property would be taxed in your hand as per section 22. Sorry. If you are a deemed owner, the income from house property would be taxed in your hand. Why? Because ownership is mandatory for charging section, and since you are now the owner, even though deemed, it would be taxed in your head. Why this concept of deemed ownership? First, because very, very relevant thing which happens is property का income divert करने के लिए, to divert the income of property का taxability. That's why people, what they do is they transfer the property in the name of son, in the name of their wife or spouses, so that ownership में, papers में, they are the owner, the income would be taxed in their hand. I am already in a slab of 30%, so I will be saved. इसलिए they would be the owner, उनका taxability, उनका income would be taxed at 10%, my income would have been taxed at 30%. So that's why you transfer the house in their name and you make them the owner. ठीक है? That's why deemed ownership concept came into picture, so that people do not transfer just for the sake or the name of it, or just for the sake of transferring the income in someone's else's hand to evade taxes or to avoid taxes. That's why the concept of deemed ownership came, wherein the owner would be the owner as per section 27. So if I have transferred a property without adequate consideration to my spouse, if I have transferred the property without adequate consideration to my spouse, then also I would be considered as the deemed owner. Hence, instead of his hands, the income would be taxable in my hands, because section 27 says they are covering the loopholes where a person unnecessarily does not transfer the property to avoid the taxability in his hand. Clear? So that's why deemed ownership concept came, and it is covered under section 27. But what are the situations where a person other than the owner of paper would be considered as the actual owner is what we'll be studying now. Deemed ownership का मतलब clear हुआ? When you are not the owner, but because of deeming provisions, you are the owner now. So as individuals who transfer otherwise than for adequate consideration. Otherwise than for adequate consideration means I have not taken pura paisa to transfer that property, any house property, to his or her spouse. not being a transfer in connection with an agreement to live apart, or to a minor child, not being a married daughter, shall be deemed to the owner of the house property, so transferred. So if Mr. X transfers the house property in the name of Mrs. X and the property ka value is 40 lakhs, he did not take anything. And the property ka owner now on papers is Mrs. X. But who would be considered as deemed owner? Mr. X, because he transferred the property without any advocate consideration. So he would be considered the property ka owner as per section 27, and as per section 27 he is the deemed owner now. So any income from that house property would be taxed in the hands of Mr. X instead of Mrs. X. Clear? But if Mr. X would have taken money, proper full 40 lakhs from Mrs. X to transfer that property, who would have been the owner? Mrs. X. Would deemed ownership would come in question? No, because now the property has been transferred for an advocate consideration. This is one exception. Second exception is that if he has transferred this property, but has not taken any advocate consideration, but have transferred this property as an alimony, as an agreement to live apart. Alimony means when you're parting ways, you give certain types of funds, certain types of security financially to the spouse. So that alimony ke case mein, if you're transferring that property, consideration is not there, but since it's an agreement to live apart, then Mrs. X would be the owner, even if there is no consideration, but it's an agreement to live apart, then Mr. X would not be the deemed owner. So Mr. X in typical case would only be the deemed owner when he has transferred the property without advocate consideration and without the agreement to live apart. Then Mr. X would be the deemed owner. Otherwise, Mrs. X would be the owner. Simple sa case hai, genuine scenarios mein it would not be the deemed ownership. But if it's just to avoid tax liability, to shift tax liability, then the actual transferor would be the owner. Similarly, if he transfers the property to the minor child, Mr. X transferred the property to Junior X without any advocate consideration. In that case, also Mr. X would be the deemed owner. Mr. X, but one exception is there. If Mr. X transferred the property to Junior X, who is a minor married daughter, Junior X means minor, okay, who is a minor married daughter, then in that case, this deeming provision would not be applicable. This is an exception. So they say if a person transfers the house property to a minor child who is a minor married daughter without advocate consideration, then deeming provisions would not be applicable. But if a person transfers the property to a minor child other than minor married daughter, then deeming provisions would be applicable, and Mr. X would be the deemed owner. Second question would come to your mind is that if Mr. X has transferred the property to his major child, matlab who is over 18 years of age, then will Mr. X would be the deemed owner? The answer is no, because only two types of transfers are covered by a necessity in the first scenario. One is transfer to the spouse, another is transfer to the minor child. Only if these two transfers are happening without advocate consideration, then only deemed ownership would cover. Otherwise, in this situation where Mr. X is transferring the house property to his child who is more than 18 years of age, then deemed ownership ka concept would not be there. Deemed ownership ka concept would not be there. Clear? Then in that case, the income would be taxed in his hand only. Next is the next exception or next point in the deemed ownership is holder of impartible state shall be deemed to be the individual owner of all properties comprised in that state. Impartible state means the state which cannot be divided. So if there is gardens and lots, impartible state generally comes when we talk about forts and all that stuff. So a property which is not divisible, so whoever is the holder of that property would be considered as the deemed owner. But for you, first point is the most important, and then the third point, a member of a cooperative society, company or other association of person to whom a building or part thereof is allotted or leased under the house building scheme of the society, company or association, as the case may be, shall be the deemed owner of that building or part thereof. नहीं समझ आया? Obviously नहीं आएगा. So generally students, cooperative societies देखा है आपने? Have you seen cooperative housing societies? So if someday you get a chance to see the documents of cooperative housing society, so if Mr. A is a person who is residing in a cooperative housing society ka one apartment, so what happens is Mr. A is a member of a cooperative housing society. Okay? Going to any house property apartment which is owned by a cooperative housing society, what will happen? The property would be in the name of the housing cooperative society only. Mr. A is considered just as a member of the property, and he's allotted a certificate of that membership. That's it. This is what is happening on the documents. Again, I say cooperative housing societies may, if a member of a cooperative society is living in a flat, he's just living in a flat because of being a member of that cooperative housing society, the documents all are in the favor of the cooperative housing societies. Usme owner is cooperative housing society, not Mr. A, who is the member of cooperative housing society. But the Act says, even if Mr. A is just a member of cooperative housing society and not the owner of the flat, of this particular flat, still he would be considered as deemed owner. Hence, any income from this flat would be taxed in the hands of Mr. A, even if as on paper the owner is cooperative housing society. So in case of a cooperative housing society, the member would be considered as deemed owner. Other 2 points are not very relevant, which you can choose to skip. So with this, we are not ending today's class, but with this, we cover our house property ka topic with all questions considered. And all illustrations practiced, I hope. Tons, minor married son ke liye not applicable, only minor married daughter ke liye, because this act goes back in the year of 1962, where the concept of balika vadhu or minor marriage or child marriage was very much relevant, where the concept of dowry was very much relevant, where out of majburi, the father had to transfer the properties as a dowry in the name of the minor married daughter. So because of that concept, they give it as an exception. Act ka bhi na, har ek part ka there is a relevance. Why such thing is there or why such thing is not there? Very good question. Deemed owner and beneficial owner, mein what is the difference? You are a deemed owner because of the provision of the owner provision which is given under section 27. You are the deemed owner because of the provisions of section 27. Beneficial owner you become by conduct as per a general definition. Ownership, whenever we talk in maximum scenarios, whenever we're talking about ownership throughout the Income Tax Act, there are 2 types of ownership, legal and beneficial. We give we give weightage always to the beneficial ownership, which matters because legally anyone can be the owner. Beneficial is the ultimate person who is getting the benefit from that property. The ultimate person who is getting the benefit from that property is the beneficial owner, to explain you in the most layman language. So by default, the beneficial ownership is what ownership is considered, even if you are not the actual owner in paper, but ultimately you are getting the benefit from that property, then you're considered as the owner. Then you're considered as the owner of the property. Share Dubey, that is again a question which you have to consider as per the legal concept. Do not worry about it. Okay, now we come to the actual class which we were here for. PGBP. So before I talk about PGBP, I know house property we have done in detail. I'll give you just 2 minutes to relax, sit in, and we start with PGBP. Just go through the chapter house property. Take a 2-minute break, just 2 minutes break. I'm here only, and then we start with PGBP. Maybe so, just 2 minutes before we start the next topic. Break would happen around 8:30. Okay? Okay, so welcome again logically to the topic which begins now. But no worries, I hope everyone is settled in with a new blackboard in mind and fresh blackboard in mind. We'll be beginning with a new topic, profits in gain of business or profession. Jitna bhi very likhna aata hai, please mark it here that it is a very important chapter. Why? Because this is a maximum scoreable chapter. If a big question of 14 to 16 mark comes in exam, the maximum provisions would come from this chapter. So again, now we have to consider from a role of owner of a house property. Now we are the businessman who is doing this, conducting the business. So the head says profits and gains of business or profession. Profits and gains of business or profession. Now what is the profit and gains, loss, income minus expenses is your profit, right? So they're talking about if you're having income from business or profession, that would be tagged in profits and gains of business or profession. Just like we did salary, we did house property. House property ke different incomes. In total is income from house property. Similarly, PGBP may I say this chapter as PGBP, profit and gains of business or profession. PGBP may also the income from different businesses in total would be my income from PGBP. Remember this, okay? And it would, again, this is house property. Abhi tak we did salary and house property plus PGBP plus other 5 sources in total would be your total income. Okay? One thing. Now, business and profession mein difference kya? Business is when we talk about something in relation to commerce or trade, where there is either trade, either manufacturing, or either any commercial activity. If I talk about that, is your business. Profession when I talk about is when you are qualified, you have a degree to conduct. When you have some sort of degree to conduct that occupation, that is your profession. So when I talk about a CA, CA is a professional. When I talk about a trader of clothes, he's into business. He's into business. Another thing, vocation. The word vocation is a very wide term. As per dictionary, but if it can be understood, vocation can be any activity which is conducted to earn a livelihood. So like painters, sculptors, authors, auditors, law, these comes into vocation, and vocation ultimately comes into profession. Hence, all of these are not business, but are your part of profession. So if I have to say, why are we doing everything separately, is you'll understand later. Business, may there is any type of trade, commerce or manufacturing or any adventure in the similar nature. Okay. Profession may, which includes vocation. Vocation is a part of profession here as per income tax. Profession, when I talk about any degree of qualification which is required to conduct an occupation, and vocation is any activity which you are doing which is not necessary business to earn a livelihood. Just like I told you an example of painter, furniture person, all of these are into vocation, and hence they are into profession and not business. While it does not matter when we talk about taxability of business or profession, but there are certain limits of audits which impact business or profession. That's why to understand business and profession is important. Business number 1, business number 2, profession number 1, profession number 2, vocation number 1, all of these would be part of your PGBP head only. Clear? Then one thing you have to be clear is by the concept of profits and gains. Profits and gains which we are talking about, which is arising from that business or profession exclusively. I am not talking about a profit which I earned in stock market until and unless my daily business is stock market. Okay, I am talking about from that business. I am a person of, I am a manufacturer or I am a trader of clothes. So whatever I am earning from trading in clothes is my business income. I am a CA. Whatever earnings from that professional degree is my business income. But being a CA, if I'm earning something, from the stock market, not into a full-fledged stock market or a full-fledged trading business of stock, then that would be my other sources income. The segregation is very important between different heads, and it is not one for all person. That means something can be a business income for me, but it can be a capital income for you. Something can be a capital income for me and can be a business income for you, and all of this depends upon the intent, nature of business, and obviously the frequency of that particular transaction. What did I say? If you are a business person who is a stockbroker. So for you, any income coming from the sale and purchase of trading activity is a business income. But I am not a straight stockbroker. Anything which I'm earning from sale and purchase in the stock market would be my capital gain income. So intent, nature of business, nature of investments, and obviously frequency decides whether it's a PGBP income or whether it's your capital gain income. Similarly, when we talked about house property, remember, so for a builder, sale of house property is PGBP income. But for any other person, sale of house property is a capital gain income. So all of these things cannot be defined by one rule. Okay, सबके लिए sale of house property is PGBP or सबके लिए sale of house property is capital gain. It differs from person to person depending upon the nature, intent, and frequency. Intent means from what mind you actually invested in that particular asset. If I invested for the particular mind of having a business from it, then it's a business asset. If I invested from a particular mind of having an investment thing, then it's an investment asset. Hence, it would be a capital gain asset. Since it's first time you're understanding PGBP, we'll go into very little threads of understanding it. We'll not rush into directly section 28. Okay? Other things you have to remember is voluntary receipts. I am conducting a business of what did I told? A business of trading of clothes. So if someone is coming voluntary into my shop and giving me, just because I have a shop and giving me because of that shop any income which I did not even ask for, that is voluntary receipt. So I cannot say that I did not conduct any trade with them and it is not my business income. By virtue of my business, if I'm getting anything, that would be my business income. By virtue of business, if I'm getting anything, that would be my business income. It does not matter where I'm applying my business income. If I'm getting it from business, it is my income. I may apply it in donation. If whatever I'm earning during the year from business, I'm giving it as donation, fine. I cannot say that I've given everything as donation, so do not charge anything in business head. That is not correct. Legality of income. Any income which is being earned from an illegal business. From an illegal business, just because of that ground cannot be said that it is not a PGBP income because it's an illegal business. Income tax does not think for the taxability. They want money. If you're earning, they want money. Whether you're earning from a legal source or not earning from a legal source, which is the hot topic of cryptocurrency. Sorry to touch it, but not to go into it. So legal source or illegal source, income tax says we want in tax on it. You give the taxability. So legality of business does not depend its taxability into PGBP, does not hamper its taxability into PGBP. And another point I've already told, each business has to be taken as separate business. Clear? Now, when you are into business or profession, one thing is obviously accounting. You can do accrual accounting or you can do cash accounting. Mercantile or cash does not matter, but you have to follow something consistently. But there are certain incomes which are always taxed on receipt basis. One is interest on enhanced compensation. What is that? You'll see in your capital gain part. Others are duty drawbacks, which has to be taxed only on receipt basis. Also, there is a concept of income computation and disclosure standards, which is not applicable at your level. Hence, we are not touching that. Clear? Next thing. इसके charging section में आने से पहले, one thing, whenever you are doing this chapter, consider yourself as business, and I'm saying businessman or profession man or businesswoman or profession woman. Why I'm saying this again and again? Because that is how the taxability impacts. Before coming to charging section, section 28. Every head has its own charging section which tells what type of income would come here. Section 15 for salary, section 22 for house property, and section 28 for PGBP. Because unlike the very two small sections, 15 and 22, section 28 tells about some list of 11 types of incomes which would be part of your PGBP. 11 types of income which would be part of your PGBP. Anything except those 11 types of income would not be part of your PGBP. It would not be part of your PGBP. It covers very basic things. One is obviously any income from that business or profession. Any income from that business or profession, you are into that business, and any income which you are earning from that business obviously would be your business income. Apart from that, if very general topic which I'll cover here, if you are receiving any duty drawbacks, you are into export business, duty drawbacks means what are duty drawbacks? You pay duty on importing and exporting. So importing basically, that duty when you pay, sometimes you get that as a cashback. That is called duty drawback. So that is your income. That is taxed on receipt basis, but it is your income. Then very common topics I'll cover here. Then your custom duties done, duty drawbacks done. Value of any benefit or perquisites. Ma'am, यहाँ पे भी perquisites? No. मतलब not that type of perquisite, but yes, it is covered here. Remember, salary may anything which is coming from that employer-employee relationship is your salary ka part, right? So any benefit which is given by the employer to the employee was your salary. Here also, similarly, any benefit which a person conducting a business receives because of the virtue of his business is your income of the business. Example, let's take an example of gift. Gift, just a salary way, was taxable because if received from employer. So if the employer has given as gift an iPhone, that would be taxable in the hands of the employee because of the gift perquisite. So, but if an iPhone, I am conducting, I am into textile business. Now, think yourself as businessman. You're into the textile business. You got an iPhone from one of your trader. That iPhone can be part of your salary income? No, because trader and you are not your employee. That is, you are getting because of your business. So any perquisites which are arising or any benefit which is arising from that virtue of business is my business income. So any benefit of perquisites because of conducting the business, that iPhone is a perquisite. So iPhone, the value would be my income for section 28. Clear? Another thing which is very important for you to remember is partner. Partner and partnership firm are two different tax identity for the tax purpose. Partnership firm is different, partner is different, correct? So any remuneration which the partner is getting, from the firm, it can be salary, it can be interest on capital, it can be salary, profit share. Profit share is exempt. You have read that in section 10. But all of these would be part of the PGBP income of the partner also. This salary which he is receiving from firm would be the part of PGBP income of partner. Remember this, we did it in the first class of salary also, that salary received from the firm to the partner is the PGBP income of the partner. It is not the salary income of the partner, because partner and firm are not employer-employee. He is not master and he is not servant when we talk about employer-employee relationship. He is the part owner of the firm. Any salary, any interest, any profits which he is getting is the part of the PGBP income of the partner. Clear? So hence, because of section 28, they have written कि salary, interest, profits would be part of the business income. That's why it is coming in the business income. Apart from that, anything which you get for conducting a business is your business income, but anything which you get also for not conducting the business, non-compete fees, anything in relation to your business you are getting is your part of business income. What is this? Simple. I think the best example can be, I ran a momo shop. Okay, I ran a momo shop. That is my business. In front of that, another momo shop wala person came. That momo shop wala person gave me 2 lakhs rupees that please do not conduct the business in this locality. You can go somewhere else. But that 2 lakhs is my business income. Why? Because I've received that for not conducting the business. That's why it's a business income. Similarly, whatever singers, authors, professions get as a fee for not sharing their trademarks or not sharing their work, for not sharing their patents, that is also your business income. Next is your key man insurance policy. This word you have read it in profit in lieu of salary also. What is key man insurance policy? The main man who is crucial to the business is key man. Usko we ensure the health of that person, the life of that person is ensured. Whatever you are receiving because of key man insurance policy. So if you're receiving it because of your virtue of employment, that is your salary income. As an employee, you are receiving any lump sum from key man insurance policy because your employer paid for that premium of key man insurance policy, then it's a salary income. Anything, if you're receiving it for the virtue of your business, the firm has ensured, the firm, partnership firm has taken key man insurance policy for you as a partner. Anything which you receive under key man insurance policy would be your business income. Last is when you convert your inventory into capital asset. You convert your inventory into capital asset. I am a jewelry person. Okay? I'm a jeweler. I'm a jewelry man. I'm conducting the business of, I have my own jewelry shop. Gold ornaments are inventory for me. If I sell that inventory, someone comes, take that gold from me, that is the sale, right? That is my business income, correct? Yes. But what if I use that inventory as my capital asset? That jewelry, I have taken it at my home. Now it's my personal asset, capital asset. Now what will happen then? Has any sale happened? I will not pay from one hand to myself to another hand. Okay, now that sale has happened. But since the inventory is getting transferred, the inventory is getting transferred, it would be considered as PGBP income. And then what we will consider as income, the fair market value on date of conversion of the asset into the conversion of the inventory into the capital asset would be considered as PGBP income. Plus, there are certain things also which we'll cover it while doing the topic. But yes, to give an understanding of Section 28, Section 28 in short covers anything which is arising from the virtue of business or profession, plus partners' remunerations, any benefits, perquisites, duty drawbacks, key man insurance policy, plus this thing which was thoda sa separate. Inventory, if sold otherwise, would have fetched income. So inventory, if transferred to capital asset, uska income would be considered as fair market value. Clear? All of these things. Now, anything out of the scope of this would not be PGBP income. Would not be PGBP income. Now, another thing, students, is which you have to take care in mind is you have to make a P&L in your account. And what is this now? P&L में क्या करते हो? You add income. I'm not making a trading account. Then you reduces expenses, right? You get net profit, correct? Yes. Then you appropriate such profit. appropriations होता है, dividend and all. Then you get your what? Net profit में से dividend हटाया, you get your P&L profit to be taken to balance sheet. This is what you do. Income is there, expenses are there, net profit is there. This is the crux of doing the question of any PGBP, so please focus here. Income less expenses, net profits. Now, what if I told you, listen carefully. What if I told you certain incomes out of this are not taxable in PGBP? They are not taxable in PGBP means this P&L you must have created as per your accounting standards. Number one, you have to understand this. This P&L is what you have created as per accounting standard. This is what as per net profit which is coming is as per accounting standards or Ind AS. But income tax में profit is as per the tax. Profit is as per the income tax laws. It is not as per the accounting standard कि चलो whatever is coming in your books of accounts would be a profit which is taxable in PGBP. No. You have to calculate, understand carefully, you have to calculate separate profit for tax, income tax purpose. Separate profit for income tax purpose. Now, how will you calculate separate profit for income tax purpose? One approach is take whatever there is in your accounting standards P&L account. Accounting standard के हिसाब से whatever P&L account is created, we will take that. Okay, ma'am. Now what we have to do? We have to do nothing. Whatever income, listen carefully. Whatever income, यहाँ पे income 1, 2, 3. 3 different types of income are coming in my credit side of P&L, and if I say this income is not taxable under the head PGBP, I am not saying this income is not taxable at all. I am saying that PGBP mein this income is not taxable. So if suppose my profit is of 100 crores, and I say that this income is not taxable under the head PGBP, then what will I do? I will reduce this income from PGBP. So what is this said? Income not taxable under the head PGBP would be reduced. Why? Because in this 100 crores, this 200 is included. This is simple maths. This my net profit is 100. But if any income is not part of this P&L account, माइंड में P&L अकाउंट रखो, इस 100 में अगर कुछ income is not, which is already included in the P&L, is not part of the PGBP income, so I will reduce that PGBP income. Correct? Yes or no? Yes. Now, if any second thing, if income which is not here, but as per section 28 has to be tagged in PGBP. So suppose I got that 2 lakhs from another Momo wala person, right? वो मैंने P&L account में Ind AS के according I have not included it anywhere, or as per accounting standards I have not included it anywhere. Now that what I have received from that Momos wala person 2 lakhs rupees is part of my income as per section 28. There is another section 41 also which includes PGBP income, but as per section 28 I have included 2 lakhs as my income because what did I tell you? आपको net profit of accounting standards को you have to now convert as per the profits as per income tax, right? Just like you used to do bank reconciliations back in that time, वैसे ही now you have to do something here also. What is not to be included as per income tax would be reduced if included in income. What has to be included as per income tax would be added if not included in income, or if not included in this net profit. Nothing technical, nothing related to taxability. Is net profit may, if anything which is not here has to be added. I am just talking about the income side right now. इस 100 में अगर कुछ taxable होना चाहिए और will be added, right? And if something which is already included in this 100 but is not supposed to be there would be reduced. So income not taxable under PGBP, reduced. Income taxable under PGBP, added. If not included, and if this is included, has to be reduced. Simple maths. Now we talk about the expense side. इसमें there was several there were these expenses 1, 2, 3, 4 which were reduced to get this 100 profit. Forget this for a moment. Is P&L में से out of these income this 100 out of the income of this how much 350 these expenses of 250 were there, hence I got this 100 net profit. Okay, but now what happened is this 80 crore ka expense which you have reduced in your income, which 80 crore ka expense which you have taken benefit of in this net profit is not to be allowed. मतलब income tax इसको allow नहीं करता. When I say income tax does not allow this, that means it is a not deductible expense. That means as per income tax, you cannot claim the benefit of this expense. So what has happened? I've already reduced this from my total income to get the profit of this. So when I'm talking about this 100, this 80 is already reduced in this 100 amount. And now if it is not allowed as per income tax, I will add 80. I will add 80. Is 100 में ये already 80 reduced है, right? But now if this is not taxable, if it is not allowable as per income tax, मेरे को ये add करना पड़ेगा अपने profit में वापस. Simple maths, correct? So I added 80 crores. Now, if there is some other expense which is not included here, but is allowed as per income tax, but is allowed as per income tax, but it is deductible as per income tax. So suppose there is another 45 crores which are allowed. Matlab allowed means for income tax, when I use the word allowed from the profit, that means that is deductible from the profit. But it is not reduced here. I will reduce that, right? I will reduce that. So by doing this from my Ind AS ka profit or from AS ka profit, I have come to a point of income tax ka profit. How did I come to a point of income tax ka profit? Very simple concept. The income which is already included here but is not taxable, I reduced it. The income which is not included here but it is taxable under the head PGBP, I added it. The income, the expenses which are already reduced, already deducted here, but are not allowed as per income tax, I added it back because इसमें वो already minus हुआ है. And the expenses, again I say sorry, the expenses which were not allowed here, the expenses which were not allowed here, but are already reduced from this profit would be added back because इस 100 पे आने के लिए मैंने 350 में से 80 माइनस किया है. To come at this 100 from this 350, 80 is also reduced. So I've added it back. The expenses which were allowed, the expenses which are allowed but is not included here will be taken the benefit of and hence would be reduced. So from that 100 I came to my income tax profit. This is what income tax is all about. You would be given the profit as per your P&L account. You would be given the profit as per P&L account. यहाँ ये वाला profit भी दिया हो सकता है, ये वाला profit भी दिया हो सकता है. You have to move backwards. First, you have to remove the items from the expense part by adding them which were not allowed. Income which reduced, which were not taxable in PGBP. Then add as per the taxability any income which is there taxable as per PGBP. Reduce any expenses which is allowed as per PGBP, not included here. what if 60 40, what about 60 40 70? I say that are allowed. If these are allowed and that are already reduced, I do not have to give impact on those items, right? वो income tax में भी deductible है, वो AS में भी deductible है, then I do not have to touch them because these are already taken an impact of in these, right? In this 100 crore, में 70 60 40 का already impact is there. Clear? So abhi tak hardcore income tax related we did not understand anything PGBP, but we came to understanding of how from an accounting standard profit you will move to an income tax profit. Share, what is the doubt? Obviously, illegal business may expense deduction will not be allowed. Yes, Jay, you people are always businessman. माधवी, नोशनल रेंट में वैकेंसी और अनरियलाइज रेंट का ऑप्शन ही नहीं आएगा. So it's simple सा maths. Even if this is not about income tax, भूल जाओ income tax पे. I say कि this has not to be included, this has not to be included. That means this is already added in my profit, I have to reduce it back. This is already deducted in my profit, I have to add it back. Simple. But then I say you two figures also that this has to be deducted and this has to be added. This is my income and this is my other expense which is not taken impact here. So you will deduct it from that expense and you will add it that income which is not having any impact here. And the one which are nothing to do with, which are there is no impact on, basically which have no changes in them as per income tax and AS, go as it is रहने दो because in this 100 they are already included. Simple. From the profit, you have to move backwards to come to your income tax profit. Simple. Clear? कौन सा things would be included or not? We will obviously do it. All that is the part of PGBP, but understanding of allowable, not allowable, includable, not includable is important. So with this, we'll take a break. Post break, we'll start from the deductions, allowable, not allowable, section 29 here, which we were taking. And today we'll target or try finishing the till depreciation part. Okay, so see you in a break of 10 minutes. We'll start again by 8:50. The class will go a bit longer, somewhere around 10. So I hope you people do not mind. Thank you. So welcome back, Shreya. We are doing the whole chapter now is to understand what is allowable and what is not allowable. So now the whole journey of PGBP actually begins. From section 30 to 43D is all about computation of income, is all about your computation of income of PGBP. कि क्या include होगा, क्या include नहीं होगा. Okay, so what would be included and what will not be included. Section 30 to section, this is what my section 29 says. जो अभी हमने table बनाया था, that is something what the section 29 was saying. Section 29 says section 30 to 37 would tell me what are the allowable deductions. If already reduced in my accounting standard ka profit, I will not make any adjustment. If not reduced in my accounting standard ka profit, I will reduce it. Then section 40 talks about inadmissible deductions. Inadmissible deductions means they are not allowed as deduction. But if they are reduced from my accounting standard ka profit, I will add them back. If they are not reduced, no impact is there, I will do no impact because any which way they are not allowed. Then expenses of payments not deductible in certain circumstances. There are certain expenses under section 40A which are not to be included if there is some default in them. If there is some default in them, that expenses if already reduced from my accounting standard ka profit, I will add them. Then profits chargeable to tax. Along with section 28, there are certain profits in section 41 which are to be added in your business income. So if not already added, I will add them. Plus there are other provisions from section 42 to 44 which we have to study. So this is what the summary of my PGBP looks like. Okay. Now we begin with the first very important section. Now business ke liye what is important is building. First question now which would be coming is, ma'am, do we need to remember the sections? I will say yes. Some particular sections, yes, you have to remember when we are talking about PGBP. Some 10-9 sections are there which are important, which you need to remember. 28 charging section, 29 just told how to compute PGBP income. Now 30 say admissible deductions begins. 30 say admissible deductions begins. Section 30 talks about your building. Building, सबसे पहले business के start करने के लिए what do you need? A structure to do a building in. So section 30 is the first deduction which is allowed for building, allowed for expenses in relation to building. Rents, rates, taxes, repairs, insurance, all of that is covered in building. If I'm doing conducting a business in a rented premises, uska rent would be allowed as deduction. Rates and taxes are the municipal taxes and rates which you pay for it. If I am doing any repair in the building which is used for PGBP, again and again, any asset which is used for PGBP, any expenses which is in nature to PGBP would only be considered for deductions. So when I talk about repairs of the building, current repairs allowed, revenue repairs allowed, capital expenditure repairs not allowed. Altogether, I'm constructing a floor, not allowed because that would become my asset, right? That is not an expense, correct? Insurances allowed. Insurance of buildings allowed. But rent, if I am conducting a business in my own premises, this property is my own, I am conducting the business here, then rent for that building, which would be basically notional rent, I will not claim as deduction. I will not claim as deduction. Notional rent not allowed as deduction. Clear? Yes. Now building is done. Next thing, what you need to bring it on for the business is structure, plant and machinery, furnitures, right? So next deduction is in relation to plant, machinery and furniture. So repairs and insurance, only these two are covered here, repairs and insurance. Rent is also covered, but that is in other section. So repairs and insurance of machinery, plant and furniture are allowed. Again, current repairs are only allowed. Capital expenditure repairs are not allowed. I'm not going back to 12th standard that what is current repair and what is capital expenditure repair. Anything which increases the life of the asset is capital expenditure repair. Us pe we'll not go in detail. Okay, so repairs and insurance of plant and machinery, again, used for the purpose of business would be allowed. So if all of those things are already deducted in your P&L profit, you will not make any adjustments. If not deducted, you will give the adjustments. Next thing, very, 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 very important. Section 32 along with Rule 5. Depreciation. Depreciation, students. Very important. Now, depreciation क्या है? Depreciation is allowed in income tax as per section 32. Depreciation is allowed in income tax as per section 32. Depreciation of only those assets which are used for the purpose of PGBP would be allowed. Number one. Usages, PGBP. Usage is PGBP. Depreciation allowed would be only to the owner of the assets or the beneficial owner of the asset. Owner of the asset. Matlab, if I have taken a plant and machinery on rent, think yourself as a person who is conducting business. Lessee को lease rental होता है, purchaser होता है. Right? He pays installments, and by the end of the last installment, he becomes the owner. Right? Now he is becoming the owner by the virtue of paying the installments, and at the end he becomes the owner. So who will get the deduction? Who will get the deduction? Instead of hire purchase, take yourself as you have taken a machinery on loan. You have taken a machinery on loan. You are paying the installment जब तक machinery का installment नहीं pay होता. Till the time the installments of machinery is not paid, the machinery is in the name of the bank. Suppose. So now once it is paid, property papers or the ownership paper comes to you, right? So then you become the owner. You say, now I'm the owner, right? So similarly, hire purchase case में, after paying certain installments, you will become the owner. So even if you will become the owner eventually, that is later, but from the very beginning, the hire purchaser gets the benefits of depreciation. From the very beginning, the hire purchaser gets the benefit of depreciation. Clear? Income tax में, one thing I have to remember for depreciation is that depreciation is allowed only based on the usage. Basically, use for the purpose of business is important. Usage is allowed only for the asset should be used for the purpose of business or profession. The asset should be used for the purpose of business or profession. And when I say usage, it can be both active and passive. And what is active and passive usage? Passive usage is that it is ready for use as a standby asset, but is not required to be used. It is not required to be used. Income tax में depreciation would be allowed only for the asset which is used for the business. Used for the business means it should not be actively used for all the time, but it is ready to be used, as in it is passively used. That would also be your criteria for allowing depreciation. That will also be a criteria for allowing depreciation. Meaning thereby, पहले active use का बात करते हैं. Plant and machinery के production के लिए daily use हो रहे हैं, manufacturing के लिए it is getting used daily. Depreciation allowable. Now there is a fire extinguisher which I am not using it, but it is there in that box. It is there in that box. Can I claim depreciation on it? Yes. Can I claim depreciation on it? Yes. Why? Because it is available for use. I cannot obviously for claiming depreciation do every day. Chalo, I have to claim depreciation, so I have to use it every day actively. No, I do not have to use it every day actively. It is there. It is a passive use. Or say generators, inverters. पहले लाइट बहुत जाता था, but now light does not go so frequently. So those are also your passive usage. Now, because of COVID, 2 years some factories were shut down. Can they claim depreciation? Yes, they can claim depreciation because the machineries were there to be used, but because of COVID lockdown, you could not use them, right? So all of these are covered for usage. So you will not say, ma'am, is saal to use nahi hua, we cannot claim deduction. No, the usage should be there for PGBP, and active and passive use both are included. Okay, so to claim depreciation in PGBP, I believe to claim depreciation in PGBP, how will you claim that? Simple सा students, जैसे you claim it in Companies Act, यहाँ पे you will claim it basis block of an asset. This is very important. Block of an asset means when you combine same nature का asset with same rate, that is called block. So first, before going here to the block, we'll discuss about nature and the rate. Now there are typically same nature or same class, I should use. There are typically 4 classes of assets in your total income tax, divided into 4 different categories. One is building, one is plant and machinery, one is furniture and fittings, and one is your intangible assets. I'll repeat, these are the major classes of the nature given: building, plant and machinery, furniture, fitting, intangible asset. Class of assets I'm talking about. इसके अलावा there is no other class for income tax. ठीक है? Now in each class of asset, we'll discuss about the rates, don't worry. In each class of assets, building may, suppose there are different types of rates. Residential building are different rate, normal buildings are different rate, temporary buildings or temporary structures are different rate, plant and machinery with different rate is there, different rates are there. Furniture and fittings में generally 10% is the rate. Intangible assets में generally 25% is the rate for depreciation. ठीक है? These are the different rates under each class of asset. So one block of an asset would be an asset which falls in the same class and the same rate. So any plant and machinery which is under 40% ka rate, which are tax, which is under 40% ka rate, these are the depreciation rates. Which is depreciable at 40% the rate would be one block. Any plant and machinery, be it mobile phones, be it auto vehicles, be it your machinery, which comes under same class and same rate, would be my one block. So plant and machinery may, there can be many blocks, but what would be the criteria for block? Same class, same rate. Can building ka 40% and plant and machinery ka 40% form a block? No. Even if the rate is same, but there are different classes. So any asset which comes in same class and same rate would become the block of the asset. Means आपने उनको groups में divide कर दिया. We have divided them into various groups. Now, ma'am, what is the rate of depreciation? Do we need to remember the rate of depreciation? Yes, you obviously have to. Let me come to the rates of depreciation. Okay, so now the rates. Building. First, my tangible assets mean you have buildings. Buildings where there are three dates. One is residential building. Buildings which are used fully for the purpose of residential purposes, except hotels and boarding houses, would be my, uska depreciation rate would be 5%. So if I have maintained my office in my own house, then uspe, in that part of office, I will be claiming 5% of depreciation. Other than that, another block is for buildings acquired on or after 1st September 2002 for installing machinery, plant forming part of water supply project, water treatment system which is put to use for the purpose of business of providing infrastructure facility. Simple. Ye mat yaad rakhna, water system plant not important. Purely temporary erections such as wooden structures, 40%. Temporary structures are generally made by yourself. That temporary structures in a building itself are eligible at 40%. So, ma'am, what do you mean? So, if I have a building structure, okay, I am conducting a business. So, वहाँ के helper के लिए I maintain the temporary structure just adjacent to my building or just outside a gallery place or just in that area. वुडन स्ट्रक्चर बना दिया, 30-40,000 का खर्चा हो गया. आई हैव स्पेंट 40-50,000 एल्यूमिनियम का स्ट्रक्चर बना दिया एज अ रूम फॉर that person to stay in. That is a temporary structure. That is depreciable at the rate of 40%. Block 3 is not very important to you. Block 3 mein, this is not very important. Okay. Block 1 mein, a building which is used mainly for residential purpose, 5%. If I am a builder, no, don't go for a building example. Go for an office which is situated in a residential house. Next, uske alawa, any other building would be depreciable at a rate of 10%. Any other building would be depreciable at the rate of 10%. So, see main rates, building used for residential purpose, 5%, except hotels and boarding houses. Building not used for residential purpose, 10%. Temporary structure, 40%. Temporary structure, 40%. As a student, one thing when I talk about building, I told you owners get, okay. Anyway, I told you owners get deductions for depreciation, right? Only owners can claim depreciation, right? So if I am the owner of that building, only then I will be allowed depreciation, and suppose it is allowed at 10%, right? And now suppose I have given that place for rent. I have given that place on rent. That building is given on rent. Now this person has made a temporary structures, capital expenditure kiya hai. He has done some capital expenditure. I'm not talking about revenue repairs on that building. He has done capital expenditure on that building. Revenue expenditure would have been allowed to this tenant, right? Under section 30. Capital expenditure is not allowed to the tenant, right? But now he has done capital expenditure. But capital expenditure पे depreciation किसको मिलता है? Only to the owner. I am the owner. If I do any capital expenditure, that would be converted into asset and I'll claim depreciation. But what about this poor person who has actually conducted capital expenditure? What will happen to that? So that capital expenditure is allowed as an asset. It is said to be an asset in the name of temporary structure or leasehold improvements and that is allowed as depreciation at the rate 40%. What did I say? Think about it. You are the tenant conducting a business, and generally this happens very often when we talk about banks. Banks are given on lease, right? Banks are given on lease. आपको क्या मिलता है? You get only a simple place. You actually conduct expenditure to form it into rooms, to form it into various cabins, to do although I'm not talking about the whitewash, but you actually put in labor for a good time and you spend lakhs of rupees to get into a proper structure. To get it into a proper structure, you divide them into rooms, you put in all the amenities which is required, and then you create a temporary structure of that of a khali vacant property which is provided to you. Correct. So in that case, those improvements, and they are not just 1 year improvement, they will go for a long time, at least for 6-7 years to come. They would be in place, right? Because generally bank takes property on lease for a good 5 to 10 years ka period. So now, whatever that type of expenditure which has been done for a tenant would become a temporary structure, and on that he can claim 40% leasehold improvement or a temporary structure deemed building के लो. ठीक है, clear? So coming back to the rates, Abhi, I am not telling you how to calculate depreciation. I have just told you block of assets. I am just telling you the depreciation rate. How to calculate it, we will come to the next part. Furniture and fittings. Furniture and fittings means this, table, electricity rights, all of these are depreciated at the rate of 10%. Are depreciated at the rate of 10%. Now, plant and machinery. Plant and machinery, there are various items. General rate for plant and machinery is, students, 15%. General rate for plant and machinery is 15%. General rate for plant and machinery is 15%. On the other hand, important dates I'll tell you. What is happening? I am unable to write here. What is happening, student? 1 second. Plant and machinery का general rate is 15%. इसमें plant and machinery में computers are also included. Computers का rate is 40%. Plant and machinery की class में computers are also included. Computers का rate is 40%. Books are also plant and machinery, 40%. Surgical equipments also plant and machinery, 40%. Now we come to understanding of motor vehicle. Cars, motor vehicles used for the purpose of business. इसमें two items, two different concepts. One is motor vehicle used in hired business. That means I am a taxi wala. Okay, I am a taxi wala. Taxi is a business, right? So I am motor vehicle would be my assets. Yes. Will I claim depreciation rate? Yes. If obviously I own it. So on that motor vehicle, since it is used for hire business, the wear and tear would be more than a general motor vehicle used for a general business. Okay, motor vehicle is all the asset which would be used in the maximum amount, right? So hire business ke case mein, if the motor vehicle is used in a hire business, I mean taxi hiring and all, then the rate is 30%. Then the rate is 30%, but otherwise, motor vehicle ka rate is 15%. Otherwise, motor vehicle ka rate is 15%. But one date you have to remember is, students, yes, that you have to remember is 23rd August 2019. See, 31st March 2020. If you can recall this period, fine. If you cannot recall, I'll tell you. Basically, what had happened just before Corona. I'm talking about just before COVID. This motor vehicle industry was so this motor vehicle industry was going at a very bad phase. The car industry and all those industries were going at a very bad phase, meaning thereby there was no sale. There was a stagnancy which had happened. There were no sales. So what our finance minister did, they gave an incentive in the sense that if to lure buyers that if you purchase motor vehicle in this period, if you acquire and put to use, को ना थोड़ा सा highlight कर लो. I'll tell you why. If you acquire and put to use the motor vehicle during this period, so we will give you extra depreciation. We will give you extra depreciation throughout the life of the asset. If you acquire the motor vehicle in this period, we will give you extra depreciation throughout the life of the asset. So क्या करा था? Any motor vehicle which was acquired and put to use in this almost 6-7 months time, the depreciation rates would increase from 30 to 45% for this category, and for this category it was 15 to 30%. So any motor vehicle which was acquired in this period, if used in the business of hiring of motor vehicle, then the rate was 45%. If otherwise, the rate was 30%. So this was only for the vehicle you acquired and put to use in this period. Coming back to the rates, plant and machinery, 15%, books 40%, airplanes 40%, air pollution equipment 40%, surgical equipment 40%, oil wells. जो important यहाँ लिखा है वो I have already written. Oil wells 15%. Windmills का भी not very important, but windmills installed after 1st April 2014 40%. Windmills installed before 15%. Computer is important, books is important, plant and machine की general rate is important, that we have covered. Ships का एक और category है, एक और block है, but since it is not very commonly used, I did not touch it. 20% is for ships. So this is the rate, and the last rate which we have yet to be discussed is intangible assets. Intangible assets के case में the rate is 25% for any intangible assets. Now, what are intangible assets? Intangible assets can be your trademarks, your license, patents, franchisee, but goodwill earlier used to be a part of intangible assets, but very important for you. Goodwill is no more intangible assets, no depreciation is allowed. There is a retrospective amendment. It came from Finance Act 2021. Finance Act 2021 said the amendment came, but it was applicable from your previous year 2021. So intangible assets में goodwill is no more part of the asset, so goodwill would never be considered as an asset. Clear? So अब ये part तो clear हो गया. Ma'am, but abhi tak you told us block, you told us when you have to claim depreciation, you told us the rates. But how do we have to calculate the depreciation is what we are looking forward to. Yes, so am I. Here, every block का एक calculation बनेगा. How will we do it? Let's focus on it. WDV of opening, or yeah, opening WDV, I should say. Opening WDV of the block. हर block का अलग calculation would happen. You may be given opening WDV or you will start from that. Then you have to add acquisitions. जो इस साल में assets you have acquired and put to use. This student put to use is very important. Acquired and put to use में there is two categories which you have to make. Acquired and put to use में there are two categories which you have to make. One is obviously acquired and put to use in the year for 180 days or more, or acquired and put to use for less than 180 days. What did I told? What did I say? Block may acquired and put to use is very important. So ma'am, what is first of all put to use? एक होता है, I was telling about one is active and passive use, but that is used, right? But that is used, even if it is used actively or passively. But the point is there is usage. So put to use is very important for claiming depreciation. The depreciation of an asset only starts from the period when you put it to use. Acquisition is not important for claiming depreciation. The depreciation can be claimed only from the period when you put to use. As I have a machinery which came to me on so and so date, but it is not installed yet. It is not installed yet. That is there. I acquired it. That is there in my godown. It is there, but it is not installed yet. It is not ready to be used. So till then, I cannot claim depreciation. That would come in my third category, which is acquired and not put to use. But if I acquired it and put to use, so 180 days or more, if I used, that means जिस साल मैंने acquired and put to use किया, did it was used for more than 180 days or more, or was it used for less than 180 days? Ma'am, why are we doing so? Because if an asset is used for less than 180 days, it would be depreciated at half rate of the rates which we discussed. If it was used for more than 180 days, it would be depreciated at full rate. If it is used for less than 180 days, depreciated at half rate. If it is used for more than 180 days, depreciated at full rate. So 180 days or more के लिए the period is, if it is put to use anywhere between before 4th October, then the usage would be obviously more than 180 days or more during the year. If it is put to use for less than 180 days, half rate. Ma'am, WDP calculate होता है assets की depreciation के लिए? Yes. You calculate the depreciation on WDV basis, not on SLM basis. You calculate the depreciation on the basis of WDV, not on SLM. SLM is only allowed to one type of SSE, and that is the SSE who is into the business of power generation distribution. SSE who is into the business of power generation and distribution, and उनके पास option होता है whether to take SLM or whether to take WDV. Back to this, acquired and put to use for less than 180 days. यहाँ पे you will write the value of the asset. Acquired and not put to use. ठीक है? उसके बाद what you'll do is less any asset transferred during the year. Less any asset transferred during the year. Then there would be coming the block eligible for depreciation, और उस block में you will apply the rate. Not flat rate. उस block में देखोगे कौन सा asset is left. 180 days वाला is left, less than 180 days वाला left, and accordingly you will apply the rates. Before we go ahead, let's practice 180 days wala. If it is not acquired at all, no depreciation would be allowed. Not put to use at all, no depreciation would be allowed. If it is not put to use, no depreciation would be allowed. So if there is an addition of plant and machinery of 4 lakhs and it was put to use on 3rd May 2021, then what would be the depreciation at this? 4 lakh ka 15%. 4 lakh ka 15% would be the depreciation, 60,000. Okay. But if this plant and machinery was acquired on 3rd May 2021, but was only put to use on 11th November 2021, so is 4 lakh pe how much depreciation would be allowed? Half rate, which would be 7.5%. half rate 7.5%. So 4 lakh ka 7.5% would be allowed as depreciation for the year 21-22. Next year, WDV full depreciation would be allowed. It's not that the rate is fixed only in the year of usage. If it is less than 180 days, then half rate. Then half rate. Year at the first time usage, if it is less than, if it is 370p next year to 15% pura 55,500 would be allowed. Here, only the year in which it is put to use half rate depreciation would be taken. Because it was not put to use. Will I get depreciation? No. Now in previous year 22-23. In previous year 22-23, will I get depreciation? Yes, because now the asset has been put to use. Now the asset has been put to use. How much rate you will give the depreciation? You will say, ma'am, 7.5% because used for less than 180 days. No, I'll say at 15%. This acquired and put to use the condition of 180 days is only for the year in which it is acquired. Means put to use the condition of 180 days is only for the year in which it is acquired. If it is acquired in earlier year and put to use in the next year, and next year if you see it is used for less than 180 days, then also you will give full year ka depreciation. Why? Because this 180 days ka condition is when this and thing is followed. That means acquired the same year no and put to use is also happening in same year. 180 days or more or less than 180 days or less than 180 days, that you have to check, but the year is same. But if the acquisition year is different and put to use year is different, then you do not have to see 180 days condition. Simple flat rate 15%. Okay. Acquired in the same year and put to use in the same year, may you have to see this. Okay, clear? Yes. Acquired, not put to use, even if it's the block of the asset, but display there is no depreciation. Now first we'll do one quick question to make you understand. Then I'll take your query. I hope everything is covered here. Opening WDV of plant and machinery as on 1st April 2021. X is a proprietor engaged in manufacturing business. Why I do not read this line? Opening WDV as on 1st April 2021 after reducing depreciation for previous year 2021 is 30 lakhs. Opening WDV is given. New plant and machinery purchased and put to use on 8th June 2021, 20 lakhs. New plant and machinery acquired and put to use on new plant and machinery acquired and put to use on 15th December 8 lakh. Computer acquired and installed in office premises on 2nd January 2022 3 lakhs. ठीक है पहले what we'll do is we'll add a block. पहले हम block बनाते हैं 30 lakhs का one कैसे block बनेगा? This is plant and machinery. This would be one block, and computer would be another block. Why? Because even if plant and machinery, the rate is different. So block 1, plant and machinery at 15%. Correct? Yes. इसमें 30 lakhs is the opening WDV. New plant and machinery purchase and put to use 20 lakhs plus 20 lakhs. Put to use on 8th June 2021. That means has been used for more than 180 days. New plant and machinery acquired and put to use on 5th December, less than 180 days. Pay, we will write 8 lakhs, right? So my total 30 plus 20 plus 8, 58 lakhs का एक block बन गया, right? Will I apply depreciation on this CUDA 58 lakhs? No. I have to break it for calculating the depreciation. And then I'll have another block. First we'll do for this. My depreciation on this would be 30 plus 20 pay. I will take 15%. Am I right? And 8 lakhs pay, I will take 7.5%. Why? Because this is used for less than 180 days. This is used for more than 180 days. So calculate the depreciation. 50 lakhs per 15% and 8 lakhs per 7.5%. This is the depreciation which would be reduced from 58 lakhs and my closing WDV would be, please do not compare the answer from the books because there is one more concept which you have not done. So my closing WDV would be 7,50,000 minus 60,000. $49.90. Figured out. Now computer pay quickly, if you can tell me what would be the depreciation. You will make another block for computer. Computer pay, what will happen, students? Computer pay, there is no opening value, only addition is there, and addition is for how much? 3 lakhs. 3 lakhs pay. How much would be the depreciation at the rate? 20%. Why? Because it is put to use for less than 180 days. So 3 lakhs pay 20%. 60,000 would be my depreciation. My closing WDV for this would be 3 lakhs minus 60,000, 240. Any doubts? Now let me pick up your doubts. The rates, Shraddha, yes, you need to remember. Hardly see, once you start doing the questions, you will yourself remember. Plant and machinery, remember the general rate. Remember the rates on books, surgical equipments, motor vehicles, computers, important. 180 days कौन सी डेट से देखेंगे मैम ईयर एंड से क्या 180 days basically if it is used on year end तक देखोगे रिया from if it is used from 5th June, so 5th June 2021 till 31st March 2022, whether it is becoming 180 days. Generally 4th October onwards, please recheck. 4th October onwards it is less than 180 days. क्लियर हो गया डेप्रिसिएशन निकालना. अच्छा स्टूडेंट, since there is a computer thing, tell me whether mobile is a part of computer or whether mobile पे क्या रेट लगेगा. If you see the list, there is a sorry Yes, absolutely right, Shreya. So if you see the list, वहाँ पे mobile नहीं लिखा हुआ. If I come back to the list, they know where mobile is written. So mobile, whether it's building, no. Whether it's parts of furniture and fittings, no. It is obviously the part of plant and machinery. But which rate would be applicable to mobiles? Which rate would be applicable to mobiles? So mobile, is it computer? No. Mobile is not computer. Computer pay rate is 40%. Mobile pay, the applicable rate would be 15% as a general plant and machinery rate. But if I talk about computer accessories like your QPS, your keyboards, printers, that are part of your computer accessories, that would be taxable or that would be depreciable at the rate of 40%. That would be depreciable at the rate of 40%. So the rates you have to remember, building ka you have to remember, plant and machinery ka you have to remember, furniture and fitting ka you have to remember, and obviously plant and machinery I just told, which I discussed, that is important, and intangible assets. Okay? Clear? किसी को कोई भी doubt अभी तक? I hope so not. And other students, to incentivize your अच्छा एक और चीज, livestock are not assets. Cattle are not your assets to charge depreciation on. Cattle are not your assets to charge depreciation on, or plant and bushes are also not your assets. Again and again I'm saying livestock is not your assets. Okay. Now this brings me back to another concept, which is additional depreciation. So I was saying you about additional depreciation. Now, what is additional depreciation, ma'am? To incentivize manufacturing in India, the concept of additional depreciation was introduced under Section 32, subsection 1 नहीं लिखा यहाँ पे, subsection 1 clause 2A. Now, this is called additional depreciation. First of all, depreciation is one thing which is given every year. Additional depreciation is one concept which is given only in 1 year. ठीक है, एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन इज टू इंसेंटिवाइज कि लोग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ज्यादा करें. सो ऑन द प्लांट एंड मशीनरी, this additional depreciation is allowed only to those assessees who are into the business of manufacturing or production, or manufacturing or production, or in the business of generation, transmission and distribution of power. Additional depreciation, I'll repeat, is allowed to whom? Additional depreciation is allowed to assessees who are into manufacturing. Additional depreciation is only allowed on plant and machinery acquired and installed in manufacturing business. It is only allowed to manufacturing assessees or to the assessees who are into the business of generation and transmission and distribution of power. Additional depreciation ka there is fixed rate. Sorry. Additional depreciation ka there is fixed rate which is 20%. So even if your plant and machinery pay even if your plant and machinery pay the tax, the depreciation, even if in your plant and machinery the depreciation rate is 15%, but additional depreciation ka flat rate is there which is 20%. Just 1 second, students. Sorry. So additional depreciation come, it is the flat rate, which is 20%. It is only allowed in the year of your put to use first time. Whenever it is installed, only in that year it is allowed. Isme bhi, if first time rate hai, 20% only allowed on acquisition of plant and machinery for an assessee who is into manufacturing business. Okay? This may be one thing you have to remember. For an asset which is put to use for more than 180 days or more. If it is 180 days, it would be in full category. For 180 days or more, it is 20%. Remember. But for an asset, please listen carefully. Yahan pe you people get confused, which is used for less than 180 days. Which is used for less than 180 days. Us case में additional depreciation would be allowed at 10%. Additional depreciation would be allowed at half rate, which is 10%. But what about the other remaining 10%? The other remaining 10% would be allowed in the next year. The other remaining 10% would be allowed in the next year. Ma'am, did not understand. So let's take an addition. Today I started my manufacturing business. Not today, in this year. Previous year, 2021, 2022, I started my manufacturing business. There is no WDV, opening WDV, because I started in this year. There is one plant and machinery which I acquired. Please listen carefully, of 15 lakhs. There is one plant and machinery which I acquired of 15 lakhs, and there is another plant and machinery which I acquired and put to use. This was put to use on 9th August 2021, and this was put to use on 7th December 2021. Okay, another plant and machinery which I acquired is of 30 lakhs. Now, if I go by our concept of understanding, is pe depreciation at first, normal depreciation would be charged. This is pay at 15% and is pay at 7.5%. Calculate it along, students. A personal calculator, okay. This is also coming same by default. ठीक है, एक तो ये हो गया. Also, since I'm into manufacturing business, I will get additional depreciation. Additional depreciation would be how much? 15 lakh pay 20% and 3 lakh pay 10%. 30 lakh pay 10%. Okay, so total depreciation which is allowed to me is 4,50,000 and 6 lakhs, right? So my closing WDV would be 45 lakhs minus 10 lakh 50,000, which is of depreciation. 34 lakh 50,000, correct? Now cut to previous year 22-23. Previous year 22-23 May, I have no other addition. Now what would be the depreciation? 34 lakh 50,000 pay, you will give me the depreciation at the rate of 15%. Is WDV pay 15%, right? 5 lakh 17,500. 5 lakh 17,500. This is the WD depreciation which is generally allowed. But if this 10% would also be allowed here, not 10% of the WDV, but that 10% which was remaining to be claimed would again be allowed here for an additional depreciation for an asset which was acquired and put to use in the previous year, but was claimed at only half rate because it was put to use for less than 180 days. So वो 10% जो बच गया था to be claimed, which was left to be claimed, would be claimed in the next year, and not at the WDV value, but at the cost itself. At the cost itself. So my WDV for next year would be $26,32,500. Clear? Now when I go to previous year 23-24, only 15% on this would be allowed. Again, I'll repeat. Additional depreciation is allowed at 20% flat, even if the plant and machinery is of the rate of 15% or at the rate of 40%, doesn't matter. Us block mein you will give an additional depreciation at 20%. For an asset which is used for less than 180 days, it would be 10%. For an asset used for more than 180 days, 20%. Less than 180 days wala asset ka remaining depreciation would be allowed in the next year for the same amount, on the same as in on the cost itself. But otherwise, we follow WDV. So this would be at 15% next year on the block, and this 10% additional depreciation left to be claimed would be claimed next year. Clear? Any doubt? But additional depreciation has certain exceptions to it. Last point you can ignore of additional depreciation. Sorry. That additional depreciation is not allowed on certain assets. First, it is not allowed on the assets which are second-hand. Second-hand assets means either it is used in India or outside India. It is not allowed on those assets. Second-hand assets where additional depreciation is not allowed. So if I used second-hand plant and machinery, uspe depreciation would be allowed, but additional depreciation would not be allowed. Any plant and machinery which is installed in the office or any residential accommodation, factory mein na use okay, basically production purpose ke liye not use okay, it is being used in an office, that plant and machinery would not be allowed for deduction. That plant and machinery would not be allowed for deduction. Ma'am, explain. If an AC is used in factory, if an air conditioner is used in factory, that is a plant and machinery eligible for additional depreciation. If a AC is put it in office premises or a residential accommodation, that is not contributing anything in the production process or in the manufacturing process. On that AC, you will not get additional depreciation. Students, these are the exceptions of not getting additional depreciation. That does not mean that normal depreciation nahi milega. Normal depreciation would be very much allowed, but not additional depreciation, because additional depreciation ka purpose is to encourage manufacturing, right? And manufacturing ke liye, if nothing is getting used, if that plant machine is not being used for manufacturing, then there is no point of putting additional depreciation on it. Then office appliances पे नहीं मिलेगा, road transport vehicles पे नहीं मिलेगा. If there is a motor vehicle, you will not get additional depreciation on it. Or any machinery or plant, the whole of the actual cost of which is allowed as deductions. Meaning thereby जिस पे 100% depreciation मिल गया और 100% deduction मिल गया उसका cost का, उन पे you will not get additional depreciation. An asset which is 100% depreciable, ma'am, what is that situation? We'll cover up later. Or 100% deductible, उस पे you do not get additional depreciation. Clear? Yes or no? Block concept clear? Now we move ahead to understand. Let me see if there's any query. Yes, Gayatri has a valid question. There is no need to take into account the months. Proportionate नहीं करना. There is just two conditions: either full rate or half rate put to use के year में, acquired put to use के year में. Otherwise flat rate. Even if I put to use it on 30th of March also, then I'm also eligible. Then also I'm eligible for that half rate. Question में mention होगा additional depreciation charge करना है? No. Question में just like the question which is here. First question. Why is this coming like this? Okay. System is getting hanged. Yeah, I don't know what is happening. Just give me 1 second, students. Yeah, sorry. Illustration 1 में लिखा हुआ है proprietor engaged in manufacturing business. This is your point here. Oh, manufacturing business is mentioned. That means it is a case of additional depreciation. Proprietor is a trader. No additional depreciation in the case. Manufacturing word, whenever it is mentioned, automatically you have to apply additional depreciation. So the question which we just solved, जिसमें हमने 7,50,000 और 60,000 निकाल लिया था already as depreciation, उस पे additional depreciation would be allowed on 20 lakhs at the rate of 20%, 20 lakhs at the rate of 20%, and on 8 lakhs at the rate of 10%. Computer pay, since it is installed in office premises, no additional depreciation. So additional depreciation would be 4 lakhs and 80,000. And baki 80,000 would be allowed next year. So the total WDV would be 58 lakhs, jo total, minus 7,50,000 normal depreciation, 60,000 normal depreciation, 4 lakh additional depreciation and 80,000 additional depreciation, 12,90,000. So 58 lakhs minus 12,90,000 would be your closing WDV. And computer के case में it would be 3 lakhs minus 60,000 only. Clear? Acha, someone was asking for temporary structure. See, rent के case में क्या I told you, if you are a tenant, capital expenditure is not allowed, correct? A capital expenditure is not allowed, but whatever improvements you are making in that property, now since you're not the owner, what will happen? So whatever improvements you're making in that property is allowed as temporary structure or a leasehold improvement, and that temporary structure, जो building के case में, becomes here. and is taxed at the rate of, is depreciable at the rate of 40%. Okay. Next part. Next part of this is cost. बार बार आई एम सेइंग एक्विजिशन का वैल्यू 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 वैल्यू, मतलब एडिशन तो यू हैव टू डू, राइट, बट एडिशन what cost you have to consider. Addition at what cost has to be considered, that is important. The pure conceptual base, what would be the addition, what would be the cost which I have to take, on which the depreciation has to be calculated. ये तो हमने क्वेश्चन ही नहीं किया खुद से, राइट. सो व्हाट वुड बी द कॉस्ट? ऑब्वियसली द कॉस्ट ऑफ परचेज ऑफ एसेट, cost of purchase of asset plus installation charges if I'm paying any installation charges which I'm paying. Cost of purchase plus any installation charges which I am paying, plus any transportation charges of the asset to bring it to my purchase of machinery, to my purchase of production, or to my purchase of business, or to my place of business. Transportation charges, right? Simple accounts maybe you used to do this only, similar here. Plus any trial run cost. Any trial run cost. This is not important from your perspective, but you have to understand. Abhi production has not started. The machinery is put to use, but abhi it's into trial run, whether it is eligible to make the correct product, right? So trial run ki costing mein whatever is happening would be added in my cost of purchase. Plus any GST which, or any duty or anything tax or I'm paying on that should be added in my cost of purchase if I am not taking credit. If I am not taking any credit, that GST and duty should also be added in my cost of purchase, correct? Plus, if I have taken any loan, so interest on that loan, interest on that loan up to the date the asset is put to use should also be capitalized. Uske baad ka interest is my revenue expenditure, but till the time the asset is put to use, any interest on the loan taken for that purchase of machinery till the asset is put to use is capitalized. This is what we do in accounts also, correct? Any subsidy which has been granted by government would be reduced. Subsidy would be reduced. So all of this in total would be my cost of purchase. Plus trial run ki sales, if something comes, that is not important. So all of this would be my cost of purchase. Us pe I will apply depreciation. Us pe I will apply depreciation. Ma'am, where is this given? This is given under section 43, subsection 1. And the explanation. Uske saath explanations given hai. All of this is given there. Clear? The cost of purchase, installation, trial run cost, GST, वगैरह. There are explanations to it also. Various scenarios are covered, which is not important at your level. I'll not unnecessarily push in your mind to disturb you. First, you have to get to the hold of calculating the depreciation, calculating the additional depreciation, and basic cost. But one important concept, student, you have to remember: if I'm purchasing an asset from a person, if I make him a cash payment, or if I say I have made him the payment in any mode other than account pay check, account pay bank draft, electronic clearing system, or any other prescribed mode, if I'm making the payment to him for more than 10,000, then on that asset I am not eligible to claim depreciation. Then on that asset I cannot claim depreciation as installation charges and cash. Abhi, I told you sometime back that installation charges have to be added in the cost of machinery, correct? To claim depreciation on it. But since this 15,000 is paid in cash, nothing would be allowable as deduction for nothing would be allowable for depreciation on this 15,000. Only 5 lakhs would be considered. Only 5 lakhs would be considered. It's not that 10,000 minus karke you will consider. No, the part which is paid in cash in a single day to the single person would not be considered for claiming depreciation. Clear? For more than 10,000. Agar yehi installation would have been 7,000, that would have been not a problem. That would have been not a problem. 7,000 would have been added in the cost. किसी को कोई डाउट? अब एक चीज स्टूडेंट्स याद रखना, रिया एंड एवरीवन, income tax करते time do not mix it with AS. Do not mix it with what we used to do in accounting standard. That is different. Apply, divide your mind in different parts. कि AS का mind is different, income tax का mind is different. Income tax के time पे only what you have to do is pick that profit which is given, add and less the things which we discussed. ठीक है? So अभी now we are calculating depreciation. So depreciation जो accounting standards के हिसाब से question में होगा, that you will reduce, that you will add back to the profit which is given. Why? Because that would have been deductible in the profit, correct? And the depreciation which we are calculating now as per income tax would be reduced from the profit. Is that because that is an allowable expenditure under section 32. $5,012 even of a value of 100 here can be claimed on depreciation. Revise करना होगा, questions solve करने पड़ेंगे because depreciation is the most important concept. Cash payment का again I'll say any part of the asset even if paid for cash in a single day to a single person for a value of more than 10,000 would not be allowed to claim depreciation on. So just like this, 5 lakh ka machinery liya, 3 lakh paid in cash, 3 lakh paid in account check, 2 lakh paid in cash, only 3 lakh pay depreciation would be allowed. Only 3 lakh pay depreciation would be allowed. अच्छा, one last concept before we wrap it for the day. बहुत simple सा concept है. Why? बहुत simple सा concept है. Any amalgamation which happens during the year, any amalgamation or your demerger or conversion, all of anything happen where there are now two different SSEs amalgamating and amalgamated, two different SSEs now which are coming, or merged company and resulting company. So depreciation would be calculated for the whole year and then would be proportionated basis the number of days before amalgamation and after amalgamation. So before amalgamation, predecessor or successor ko basis number of days you will distribute the depreciation. Nothing of income tax, purely in relation to your concept of unitary method. Okay, so now coming back to the homework part. Please study, read, understand. हमने speculation business we did not do. Rates of depreciation would not be given, Khushi. We have not done speculation business, but we have covered maximum part of it. So I would request you to illustration 2 को छोड़ के and if an asset is used for both personal and business purpose, so proportionate depreciation would be allowed. proportionate depreciation would be allowed. Please study till page 4.211. Illustration के नाम पे there are very basic illustrations. Illustration 2 you can skip. Illustration 2 I'll do in the next class. Illustration 4 you have to do. Illustration 4 तक करो. If there's any question in the practice part, do that also. Question after the chapter is completed, do that also. 22,000 paid in cash to two different people in one day. मतलब एक asset की बात हो रही है नम्रता. If I have purchased an asset, you're talking about an asset. Two different assets were paid. एक 15,000 का asset, एक suppose for whatever amount. 22,000 को कैसे break करूँ मैं? Two people in one day, break it into two ना. किसी एक को तो 10,000 से more मिला होगा. In any situation, so bring it in onto the practical context. If I'm paying 9,000 on one asset, 9,000 on one asset, and 8,000 on one asset in a single day, it is more than 10,000, but it is to two separate person. I can claim it for depreciation. Depreciation का question solve करो. Depreciation का concept is important and is easy also. Coming class would have lots of deductions, lots of allowable deductions, and connecting it with practical would be very important. Okay, so coming class में we start with your next deduction, which is scientific expenditure, but I will put some light more on actual cost of assets का explanation, which is important for you. Okay, actual cost. कुछ specific case scenarios में which actual cost is to be taken, उस पे I'll put a light on. First time depreciation calculation is difficult. That's why I tried covering it step by step. I hope you people understood. Rates of depreciation will not be given in exam. You have to remember them. ज़्यादा नहीं है. It will not be given in exam. But okay. So with this, we wrap up our class today. Try doing it. Happy weekend to all of you. Have a good time. Thank you. सर हो गया टेक टीम Yes, it is concluded. Thank you.